Hi from Canada. This is the second half of this video. First part is in the first pinned comment. You want to learn vocal mixing from one of the best, lord-alge. The problem is, what he shows in tutorials is very different from his signature plugin. And this plugin never was explained by him or by the manual properly. Crazy number of different things you never knew about this plugin and about his mixing techniques. We're actually gonna bust even some misinformation. You don't need to use this pretty outdated plugin. You can use more up-to-date tools to implement the same things. And in some part of this video, I'm gonna show you disadvantages of each of those processors. For everybody who mix vocals, this video is supposed to be very valuable. By the way, you can attend one free trial class of one of the most powerful courses on audio production. You will be connected to a real class with people who are taking this course right now, so you can view how exactly we study. It's 9 months online monthly payments. The idea of this course to amaze you literally every class. Here's the reaction of people who are taking this course right now. These guys are at their 7th month of this course. As you can see, they're still excited after each class. As a bonus, we have unique homework checking sessions when I open your own projects in front of you in real time. The information about me, my course, and 240 reviews you can find in the first pinned comment or in the description. But instead of reading, I offer you much better way. Get a free trial class, because nobody knows better than you what works for you. And simply ask for the course details in email. How to contact me? It's in the first pinned comment or in the description or on the screen. Chamber, constant background noise for your vocal.
Now I'm still feeling guilty because you wanted me to stay.
This kind of like psss, right? So this noise will be all the time in your sound. And who knows, it's not always that cool. With chamber, you have to hide it, you know, you have to make it very quiet. My suggestion is, if you're gonna be using chamber, you should imitate it with your own plugin, but don't create as much highs as chamber preset has over here, and you're gonna get much better job on most of your vocals. But sometimes this chamber can be useful. Let's say your vocal is just prolonging long notes, you know, like but if you say a lot of sibilances and you're rapping or something like that, chamber will not be working. Almost 200 milliseconds delay before reverb comes in. It's not tempo fixed, it's always fixed. To be more precise, 194 milliseconds. So when lord-alge in his video tutorial says, I always use 150 delayed reverb, it doesn't really mean it's always 150. As you can see, it's 194 over here. The curve on this reverb looks like this. After 2K, you start to get very, very slight roll off on the high end. If your sound has lows, mids, and highs, reverb also will contain lows, mids, and highs. So it's like a wide range reverb, basically. You see some names of some plugins which imitate Lexicon reverb. I have them all. So Steven Slate doesn't have low bottom end which lasts longer. This one sounds more like highs and mids like lasting, and lows just goes away very quickly. It's called damping of low frequencies, goes faster. So it will not be sounding like chamber. Another thing, Lexicon from Lexicon plugin definitely has a bit different form of a sound. No matter how you tweak it, it definitely sounds different. Then Relab LX480, it's nice. It's a bit thinner, a bit more flat sounding reverb. lord-alge's chamber a bit like more, you know, like huge and like round sounding. And obviously I checked everything like diffusion, I checked damping, I checked EQing, I checked length, I adjusted literally everything. So this is the setting on Relab. Over here we have 3.8 length of the tail, no shape, no spread, large room. We have full blown frequency response because this reverb is supposed to be wide range, so no like high cut. We have 192 milliseconds. Bass damping by 20% longer. We have frequency crossover around 800. High frequency actually should be shorter, so 60% of high frequencies. I use high diffusion over here to get more density. You can play with decay shape over here, but I choose 7. So this is Relab.
Now I'm still feeling guilty because you wanted me to stay.
This is chamber.
Now I'm still feeling guilty because you wanted me to stay.
Relab.
Now I'm still feeling guilty because you want
Chamber.
Now I'm still feeling guilty because you wanted me.
Just imagine how much work it takes to repeat this setting on reverb. Universal Audio, actually with a plate on Universal Audio, it's not so easy to replicate the same sound. I went with 2-room large chamber. Actually, it's so close. The only difference is like coloration, obviously, because Crystal Delge's reverb going through SSL channel strips and cables, obviously it gets some coloration. Native Instruments / soft tube plugins, you cannot use those to replicate the same sound. Because they simply like minimize versions of Lexicon, so they don't have every preset, and they more like whole style reverb orientated plugins, so you cannot achieve the same sound. Let's check some processing on the rap vocal, because rap vocal is a bit different beast. So this is Ice Cube's song, which I produced, mixed and mastered in 2011. High frequency, like all the time, right, in the reverb. So if I apply something like that on this vocal, it would be like noisy all the time, so I have to hide this reverb down.
Maniac with Maniac Mac here, down to get this out of town party cracking.
Let me play it, and I'm gonna stop. You're gonna hear the quality of this noise.
Maniac with Maniac.
This noise kind of like will be like all over the place. So potential on this rap vocal, it doesn't work. It's actually ducking. It has side chaining. Again, I don't have time right now to explain what it is. While vocal is continuing, you have reverb quieter. Once you have a pause or you just press stop, reverb supposed to be louder. So it's like jumping out. So you go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and reverb like underneath your voice. And then you stop, like you say 9, 10, and reverb like I'm gonna show you. It's created to fill out the gaps. First delay is called slap delay. One repetition only. Crystal Delge has this story about slap delay.
Tape slap, and it's like 166 milliseconds. I don't know whoever measured it, but the tape slap that we all know is the John Lennon thing, you know. So I made one, the one that I use, the vibe that I use every day on every mix.
But after I measure it, it's not 166. Actually, in reality, it's a tempo fixed. It's 1/16th of the tempo. So if you have, let's say, 120 BPM, right? Your delay will be actually 125 milliseconds. You say 1 and this plugin says 1 in response, right? After 125 milliseconds, if your tempo 120. If you, let's say, tempo 70 BPM, much slower song, you're gonna get 214 milliseconds, much slower than 166. If you have 120 BPM, then much shorter than 166. You're gonna have 125. Another thing, it has delay between left and right echo. Center, left and right. Your vocal sounds, let's say 0 milliseconds with no time delay. First repetition will be on the left, 125 milliseconds, and second repetition will be on the right side, 133 milliseconds. I measured that distance between left and right, it's exactly 2/56 of the tempo. And you have quarters, right? It's like 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you continue dividing like 16th, 32nd, 64th, 128th, and 256th, it's exactly the time which you get in this particular slap delay. So between left and right, it's exactly 2/56th of the tempo. Let's say when you have 120 BPM, it's exactly 8 milliseconds difference. Let's say we have 70 beats per minute, so you have slower song. So you're gonna have 214 on the left and 228 actually longer delay on the right side. You have 14 milliseconds between left and right. And actually I even measured this, and it's still 2/56th of the tempo. Interesting. So where is John Lennon 166 here? Don't get me wrong, but I measure it. Fact is fact. You know, in the world of audio, for some reason, sometimes authority or like legendariness matters more than factual information. Audio engineering is audio engineering. The word engineering means is mathematics. In mathematics, 1 + 1 = 2. No other opinion, no legendariness. If some legendary guy will say 1 + 1 = 3, I don't care. I'm all about engineering. I appreciate the facts. So if I know about this plugin, that on the left you have linked to the tempo, you have 16th note, but distance between left and right, extra 8 milliseconds, but 8 only in 120 BPM. And if you change BPM, this value will be a bit shifted, but it still will be 2/56th of the tempo. This is amazing information in my opinion, and it really clarifies the point, right? So your delays and echoes like really synchronize to the tempo. This is how equalizer of this delay looks like. So that one echo, like repetition of your main note, will not have lows and highs. So something around 150 will be cut, and something around 5.5K will be cut. Something around 18 decibels per octave, which is impossible to implement on his console on SSL because his high cut filter, low pass filter, actually has 12 decibels per octave. So that's why I believe this low cut and high cut was really on that delay itself. Without,
Now I'm still feeling guilty cause you wanted.
with,
Now I'm still feeling guilty cause you wanted me to stay. Maniac with Maniac Mac here. Down to get this out of town party cracking.
it can be very useful when you just recorded one lead vocal and it sounds just too simple. Slap delay would be working. Sometimes I want to apply a couple of different delays on the same vocal. With this plugin you cannot do it. If you even could, it's exactly the same delay quality between slap, the same frequency curve, right? 8 and quarter, they have similarities in tone. And this plugin is impossible to use in the aux bus mode. I'm gonna give you one important suggestion. When somebody tells you, oh, this famous guy uses Lexicon Reverb, it doesn't mean you should go and buy Lexicon plugin, because you probably would never imitate their sound. Plugin manufacturers say, yeah, it's 100% the same, but in fact, they never really the same. So even if you find exactly the same settings, anyway, each plugin sounds different. Example, I have 5 different Lexicon plugins and they all sound different. And I have impulse response library recorded from Lexicon, it also sounds different. If you repeat settings or you even adjust settings or you compensate those settings, anyway they sound different. So let's say Chris lord-alge says, I use Lexicon. You say, oh my god, okay, I'm gonna be using Lexicon as well. Your Lexicon plugin will not be sounding like Chris lord-alge's Lexicon in his studio. This is the thing. Sometimes you just change the model or even like settings and your choice just sounds better for your mix. This is the only thing what really matters, your sound and what exactly works for your mix. So what I suggest you, instead of chasing after somebody like Chris lord-alge trying to imitate his sound, you will never achieve it. You'd rather learn how to really define every aspect of your sound, how to define frequencies, how to choose settings, how to balance instruments, how to fix problems, how to realize why something doesn't work. This is what I teach on my course. Critical thinking mixing. But also I teach you all this analog and classic stuff, so you're gonna be twice as knowledgeable. Not just the guy who use critical thinking and not just the guy who know analog equipment and know how all those classic devices work. You're gonna be 2 in 1. You have critical thinking and all this knowledge together. Now we go with the first type of reverb. It's called tight. Chris lord-alge over the time had Lexicon 300, but this Lexicon could be 480 or 300. The structure of this reverb is very interesting. Actually, we have some pre-echoes, that's why I believe it's Lexicon. First pre-echo around 28 milliseconds. You can imagine it like early reflections, and the tail of this reverb starts from 60 milliseconds. And actually this reverb not longer than 1 second. I would say perceived length of the tail of this reverb in the mix could be up to 1 second. Potentially he could use something like Bricasti or Sony Dre 2000, his most favorite drum reverb is really Lexicon. We can find the plugin which imitates this room so closely from Steven Slate called Verbsuite Classics. You go to 480, it's a Lexicon, then you go to Rooms, take preset called Large Chamber. On real Lexicons you have this large chamber. So Rooms, Large Chamber. So this is exactly this one. However, on this plugin you really need to drop high frequencies down 11-12 decibels. If you drop it down like this, it would be very close, and maybe just a bit of lows, maybe 0.3 lows. Reverb should be relatively quiet. In the real mix it would be like this.
Now I'm still feeling guilty cause you wanted me to stay.
I specifically exaggerate so you hear the nature of reverb more precisely.
Now I'm still feeling guilty cause you wanted me to stay.
And if you go to Steven Slate plugin,
Now I'm still feeling guilty cause you wanted me to stay.
Chris lord-alge,
Now I'm still feeling guilty cause you wanted me to stay.
Oh my god. I mean, it's very close, right? I put so much time in this video you wouldn't believe. I even matched every setting on this reverb, on delays, everything by some other plugins. I emulated all this for myself. Double-checked, measured every effect in any possible aspect, double-checked it in different mixes. Anyway, I tried to make this video as short as possible. I have to cut probably like 90% frequencies of this reverb, absolutely phenomenal. A bit of bump around something like 200. It has roll off on the low end starting from 100 and down, and then after 2K it also goes down. So this is actually frequency balance of this reverb. So if you're gonna imitate your room effect, you can think in this way. Actually, I'm not a big fan of room reverb sound because it usually is something what you try to get rid of in recording studios when you record vocals, right? Hole style or plate style on vocals is traditional. Pitch, basically, it's actually a split harmonizer. Basically, this effect is like delay and pitch shift at the same time. It's basically creating like micro artificial double vocal. Imagine again, center channel, left channel, and right channel. In the center channel, you have the main vocal, which has no time delay, it's 0 milliseconds, and timeline goes from the top to the bottom. The lower, the later. Left channel will be delayed in time, something in between 6 and 11 milliseconds. So as you can see, it's not like those hundreds of milliseconds like on delay effects. It's much faster, it's almost like inaudible. Imitates kind of like how a real human being, never like on time perfectly, just a bit later or a bit earlier. Of course, you don't make it earlier, here you make it later. From 6 to 11, what I mean by this, I mean it's floating. Of course, in the context of this video, I cannot give you the whole theory about harmonizers. We have this relatively short topic on my course with full-blown details on literally everything. So it's like second voice, which sounds almost at the same time with your main voice. It's not constantly delayed by 6 milliseconds or by 10 milliseconds. If you record the second voice, you always a bit more late, a bit less late, a bit more late, a bit less late, you know what I mean? This plugin actually imitates this flotation of timing. How I measure it? Because I'm psycho. I spent zillion hours on all this and like tested it and like living my life in audio, you know what I mean? So this is how. On the right side, it's floating from 9 to 13. So in general, right channel is a bit more shifted. So sometimes they come like a bit closer, sometimes they a bit like more falling apart, you know what I mean? Echoing signal actually loses a bit of low end, so it's a bit more like lightweight. Your direct signal always will be a bit fatter, and those repetitions will be a bit more like lightweight. It becomes like quieter and quieter and quieter and quieter and quieter. White curve over here is a representation how direct signal would be looking like. You also have a bit pitch shift. Because when you sing your second double vocal for the second time, you never like perfectly in pitch with yourself. And it will be just a bit higher or just a bit lower, you know what I mean? So it imitates these principles. One of channels will be just a bit higher in pitch and the second channel will be just a bit lower in pitch. Like 3 voices at the same time, check it out.
And I'm still feeling guilty cause you wanted me to stay.
Of course, it's a bit artificial, it never sounds like really 3 voices recorded, so it has... The point is, you blend it not so loud.
And I'm still feeling guilty cause you wanted me to stay.
As a disadvantage of this effect, I would say those harmonizers sound pretty artificial, to be honest. You can do much better with like other plugins, but I mean, to get some fast result, you can get it, of course. Now we go to the next effect. This effect, according to lord-alge, has more pitch shift, but one of the most important thing, the right channel on this harmonizer is much more delayed than the left channel.
I'm still feeling guilty cause you wanted me to stay.
So you definitely start to feel like two voices at the same time. Left channel also has some flotation in delay from 4 milliseconds to 8 milliseconds, so it's almost at the same time with the main voice in the center. But the right side will be delayed by huge amount, which is very audible by the ear, like more pronounced separate voice.
And I'm still feeling guilty cause you wanted me to stay.
Wide.
Not quite my tempo.
Rhythmical aspect of the rap vocal here is lost, so Ice Cube just like start missing some words not on time, kind of, you know.
Not quite my tempo.
So wide mode also has less lows, the same like stereo has. So large is the other type of ambience. It sounds like this.
And I'm still feeling guilty because you wanted me to stay.
The way how this reverb sounds is absolutely impressive. So after 150 milliseconds, you get the tail of this reverb. And the tail lasts for perceived length of it could be from 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds, I would say. So medium kind of reverb. Instantly, almost instantly. Like first repetition, the next repetition, the next repetition, the next. So basically the whole range up to 150 is filled out by pre-echoes. CLA in some of his videos also said he uses reverb with 150 milliseconds delay, but he never mentioned pre-echoes. Again, this information is not present in any manual or some videos. A lot of people believe CLA uses a plate preset on lexicons called a plate. I actually tried to match it to a plate, but it's crazy difficult. It actually kind of like never sounds exactly like a plate until you get very heavy processed. On a train station, when somebody says, the next train coming to the...
Still feeling guilty because you wanted.
It's more like poo 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 poo, like resonating, you know. Default settings on Universal Audio plugin, a plate sounds like this.
And I'm still feeling guilty because you wanted me to stay.
It's very flat, it's very like noisy and like doesn't have this like rounder sound. It has a lot of highs. You should get rid of high frequencies, but eventually in the end of the day it still doesn't sound exactly like CLA's large. So it's one of the most mystic reverb and actually it's one of the most useful. This is the frequency balance you get from this reverb, so you have some drop around 140, right? So that's why it sounds kind of clear. And you have no highs. Basically after 1K you have like drop, so you have much quieter level after 6K and above. Large is a bit like more honky in mid-range. So now if you switch type of a delay to 8 note, 2 times slower than slap delay.
And I'm still feeling guilty because you wanted me to stay.
Longer delays usually work for the slower vocals, where vocalists take some time to prolong each note. Surprisingly, I thought he would use some other delay algorithm, but actually it's exactly the same like slap. So EQing will be exactly the same on this effect, the same low cut, the same high cut, but it's only for the first repetition. This delay has long feedback. Your delay will make like 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Every next repetition start to get less lows and less highs. Each next echo becomes like more mid-rangey, more mid-rangey, more mid-rangey, more mid-rangey. First repetition is this wide curve. Second or third repetition is this like yellow curve, less lows and less highs. But next repetitions, maybe 6th or 7th, will have even less lows, as you can see, orange one. Each next repetition will be quieter and quieter and quieter. I just match them in volume and check their frequency response. So as you can see, it's amazing. The later repetition is, the less lows and highs you get. Has effect built in this delay. One of the disadvantages of this delay would be maybe too many repetitions, because let's be honest, so you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and when you say 10, some echo in 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 continuing, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 continuing, you know. Even when you say 10, it can be like a bit messy, you know. If you keep delay relatively quiet, you're not gonna hear it too much, so it seems like it's working in some circumstances, but I would make shorter feedback. What I'm explaining is not a guide, it's not a structured system from A to Z. I specifically crafted my course in a way like you cover like everything possible related to the topic from A to Z, and we obviously have delay topic as well. In terms of mono compatibility, all 3 delays are actually on the boundary of mono incompatibility. CLA says he doesn't care about mono compatibility, so then it's fine. You know what I mean? But if you care about mono compatibility, these delays, they have a bit extra width, which will not be working if you're the guy who cares about mono compatibility. It can be a bit risky at least. With rap vocals, you always have more issues with long delays.
Maniac with Maniac Mac here, down to get this out of town party cracking. Homie back in.
So it goes, and you continue saying something totally different, and you're like, what's going on? Like, you hear one word and the totally other words underneath, so it creates like total mess. And the next one is quarter, right? 2 times slower again. It still has feedback, so you have not just one repetition, but many.
And I'm still feeling guilty because you wanted me to stay.
So obviously, as you can see, it will not be working really for fast-going vocal. It starts to be like really messy. You suddenly hear the second voice, which is like totally going against the main vocal, right? So, but if you have like long notes, it will be working for sure. Everything else is literally the same like previous to the same delay between channels, the same EQ curve. The last effect is spreader. It's actually pretty artificially sounding effect, more like a phasey, chorusy kind of effect, which like lord-alge says, you're not gonna put like everywhere, but maybe to some part of a song you're gonna apply. It's left channel delayed by from 8 to 12 and the right channel delayed by from 2 to 11. Their delays values are floating. It's very pronounced actually pitching effect over here, and it creates like very artificial voice like this.
I'm still feeling guilty 'cause you wanted me to stay.
You know, like wow, 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 sound like this, you know. So yeah, in some places in the mix it could be great. You don't lose anything if you try a free trial class. Come to my group, check how we learn with students. There will be a very high chance that this course will be something totally what you didn't expect to find, and it will be a game changer for you. I don't need to convince you because I actually show you what it is by the free trial class. This is the difference. And every class, the idea is I give you something totally new and unique you never knew about before. How to contact me? The information is in the first pinned comment or in the description or on the screen.